AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
And away we go, episode 1189 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, October 31st, 2025. It is Halloween 2025. It is the day after we had reports on Thursday morning that the Washington Nationals are hiring Blake Butera as manager. He's 33, will be the youngest manager in MLB since the immortal Frank Quilisi for the Minnesota Twins in 1972. Blake Butera, he has been with the Tampa Bay Rays organization either as a player, a coach, or an executive since June 2015. He most recently was the Rays Senior Director of Player Development. Now, he has never played or coached above the single A level of professional baseball. There absolutely is some risk with this hire, but this to me is a bold hire, and this to me continues what has become an undeniable theme, and that is that everything that the Nats are doing in their baseball operations overhaul, led by the hiring of Paul Taboni as president of baseball operations, is about the team becoming better at drafting and player development off having been abysmal at those things for years, and it is great to see this. From ESPN MLB insider Jeff Passan in an ESPN.com piece that came out on Thursday morning, quote, with fluency in advanced metrics and the detail-oriented approach that has made Rays employees coveted by other teams, Butera was regarded in the industry as a future manager. His combination of managerial and player development experience appealed to the Nationals, whose hiring of Taboni, 35, gave them the youngest head of baseball operations as well. End quote. I love reading that. Now, nothing matters if Nats ownership, the Lerner ownership group, doesn't spend properly on infrastructure and players, but the Nats right now are going about their baseball ops revamp in the right way. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Coming up on the show, in-depth preview of a game at Northwest Stadium against a team from the Northwest. The Washington Commanders versus the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this Sunday night at 8:20. Next segment, a breakdown of the latest injury report for the Commanders for Sunday night and discussion off comments from offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury and defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr., including Kingsbury on the impact of the injuries at receiver and Whitt on the changes for the defense and on the defense having the proper mindset for a turnaround. The following segment, a deep dive on the Seahawks, as we'll speak with Seahawks insider Michael-Shawn Dugar of The Athletic. And the segment after that, my rhyming keys for a Commanders win over the Seahawks and my prediction for the game. Also on the show, college football, Goldilocks for the FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region for Week 10 of the 2025 season, and thoughts on Maryland trying to snap a 3-game losing streak with a homecoming game against number 2 Indiana, of all teams, on Saturday afternoon at 3:30. And on the show, we'll discuss our Washington Wizards. They on Thursday night lost at the reigning defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder 127-108, despite Bilal Coulibaly making his regular season debut off having been out with injury. He played well, but the Wizards committed 23 turnovers to the Thunder 6, got outscored in terms of points off turnovers 26-5. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Joel Charney with some perspective on the Commanders season. Writes Joel, hi Al, hope all is well. How's the family doing with Halloween prep? Is your son coming back as a landscaper this year? I'm writing to try and encourage some positivity among you and Commanders Nation. I know it has been a rough start to the season, but you noted in all of your season previews what a charmed life the Commanders led in 2024. You noted the lack of injuries. You went through the schedule and noted the murderer's row of quality quarterbacks the team would be facing. The Commanders were a prime regression candidate, and that is how the season has played out so far. But at the end of the day, the Commanders still have the number one requirement for for sustained success, a franchise quarterback. The future is bright. But I think Adam Peters needs to focus urgently on getting younger and faster on both sides of the ball. I understand wanting to maximize the JD5 rookie contract window, but the emphasis on veteran talent has left the team vulnerable. I'd like to see the team collect as much draft capital as possible for the 2026 draft and bring a youth infusion into the organization. Best wishes, Joel. Thank you for the email, Joel. If the Commanders lose on Sunday night, then I do want to see General Manager Adam Peters be a seller regarding the 2025 NFL trade deadline, which is this Tuesday, November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern. The team has some intriguing trade chips who could help to replenish the team's diminished draft capital. And as much as it pains me to say this, my 8-year-old son for Halloween is dressing up as Pittsburgh Steelers edge defender TJ Watt. Yes, my son is dressing up as a Steeler. My wife is from Pittsburgh. She's a big Steelers fan. Her dad was a season ticket holder for years, and I am failing as a father. I am losing the war that is which NFL team will be my son's NFL team. My 5-year-old daughter is dressing up as Rapunzel, but my son is dressing up as TJ Watt. Go ahead. Criticize me, rip me, bash me. I deserve it all. I am ashamed of my failure. Actually, you want to hear something funny? So the other day, I was wearing a fleece with a Redskins helmet on it, and my son asked me, he actually asked me this, which name do people like more, Redskins or Commanders? And I was like, boy, is that an interesting question. And then he asked me, and I swear that he asked me this, why did the Redskins change their name? He asked me that. Why did the Redskins change their name? He's 8 years old. And I was like, son, let's talk about something less complicated, like where babies come from. Actually, he is becoming sports curious. I mean, he is becoming interested in sports. I'm happy about that. But I am not happy that he is becoming a Steelers fan. I am losing the war. Email from Gene in Manassas, Virginia on the Commanders defense. Writes Gene, Dear Al, thanks for the most info on any Washington, D.C. podcast. I never miss an episode. Even with injuries so far, I submit that our defense is what we needed, if not what we wanted. The offense must score 30 points or hold a 10-minute time of possession advantage with one turnover or less to win. Without that, this defense can't hold up. But even without that, the defense held a Hall of Fame quarterback in Patrick Mahomes to 28 points and held the top offense in the Cowboys to 37 points. If the offense would only do its job, we'd be 6-2. The main reason for a record is injuries to the offense. Without wideouts who separate, the defenses in Chicago have succeeded by stacking the box against the run. Thank you for the email, Gene. The Commanders' defense in the 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on October 19th was horrible, even if you take 7 points off the account of the defense due to the pick six. And the defense in the 28-7 loss at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football this past Monday night was not good. Was better, but was not good. We need to avoid Stockholm Syndrome or Ashburn Syndrome with the defense. Don't let the defense, having been so bad, make you think that lesser bad outings by the defense aren't bad. Now, I concede that the realistic idea for this season was for the defense to be at least mediocre and for the offense to be great and lead the way. So neither the expectation nor the requirement for the defense was for it to be great. But the idea wasn't for the defense to be really bad. And the defense has been really bad. It has gotten worked by this brutal slate of opposing quarterbacks. And yet another opposing quarterback having a good season is coming up this Sunday night in Sam Darnold. Email from Stanley Evans on the state of the Commanders season. Right, Stanley? Hey, what's up, Al? How is everything, dude? I think we all felt it. The Chiefs taking over on Monday night felt inevitable. We were hanging on for dear life, and offensively, everything had to be perfect. Goes to show you how hard it is to win when you don't have a franchise quarterback. I'm depressed about this season, but it is wild to remember that Jaden has barely played. Feels like his sophomore year never even happened. We are a completely different team when Jaden is healthy, and it really feels like we're being robbed of his sophomore campaign. This year has just been weird and hard to get excited when he has been hurt and the offense has had no rhythm. Keep giving the young guys reps. Let Jaden find some rhythm down the stretch and see where we land. Playoffs sound crazy, but I'm not ready to mail it in yet. If Jaden somehow turns this around, it would be one of the wildest seasons I've ever seen. Have an awesome weekend. Thank you very much for that, Stanley. Same to you. And man, this has been a weird season for our team. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com, and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The Nace Law Group features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients, led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979. The Nace Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The Nace Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The Nace Law Group can help you and your family make difficult decisions. The Nace Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. All right, Week 9 of the NFL's 2025 regular season gives us the 3-5 Washington Commanders against the 5-2 Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this Sunday night at 8:20. The Commanders practiced on Thursday afternoon. Their injury report for the practice featured 5 offensive players, 3 defensive players, and a special teams player. On offense, quarterback Jaden Daniels, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice for a second consecutive day. Great to see that. Daniels, for the team's 28-7 loss at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football this past Monday night, was inactive due to a right hamstring injury, but he is poised to be back for this Sunday night. Receiver Terry McLaurin, he on Thursday afternoon did not practice for a second consecutive day. Of course, we on Wednesday afternoon learned that he is out for Sunday night against the Seahawks. He, in the loss at the Chiefs, returned from a 4-game absence caused by a quadriceps injury, but he re-injured the quad. Left tackle Laramie Tunsil, he on Thursday afternoon was a limited participant in practice. He on Wednesday afternoon did not practice. He, in the loss at the Chiefs, played on just 25% of the Commanders' offensive snaps due to a hamstring injury. Tight end Colson Yankoff, he on Thursday afternoon did not practice. He on Wednesday afternoon was a limited participant in practice, so he went backwards. He, for the loss at the Chiefs, was inactive due to a hamstring injury. And tight end John Bates, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice but was on the injury report due to an ankle issue. Bates was not on the injury report for Wednesday afternoon's practice. On defense, interior defensive lineman Johnny Newton, he on Thursday afternoon did not practice for a second consecutive day. This due to an ankle injury, so concern with him. Interior defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw, he on Thursday afternoon was a limited participant in practice. He on Wednesday afternoon was a full participant in practice. He's dealing with a shoulder issue. Linebacker Bobby Wagner, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice for a second consecutive day. He has been on the injury reports this week due to a thumb problem. And on special teams, kicker Matt Gay, he on Thursday afternoon was a limited participant in practice. He on Wednesday afternoon did not practice. He's coming off a back injury that had him inactive for the loss at the Chiefs. It is very good that the Commanders are set to get back Jaden Daniels, but the Terry McLaurin news is brutal. And so the Commanders on Sunday night again will be without 2 of their top 3 receivers, as the number 3 receiver Noah Brown has missed 6 consecutive games due to groin and knee injuries. The Commanders on October 15th announced having put Brown on the reserve/injured list. Also keep in mind the team's number 2 receiver, Deebo Samuel Sr., he in the loss at the Chiefs returned from a 1-game absence caused by a heel injury. Commanders offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury did a pre-practice press conference on Thursday starting right around 12 p.m. During that presser, had this back and forth between Commanders insider Sean Reed of the Washington Post and Kingsbury.
Kliff, obviously Terry had a setback having, re-injuring his quad injury last week. And it's kind of a familiar situation for the other receivers who's have to step up all season long. But what more do you need to see out of those guys to kind of account for Terry's absence?
Yeah, I don't think you can account for a player like that. Obviously, it's hard to step in and fill those shoes. But collectively, just more consistency week in, week out. I think guys have made plays at times and stepped up when asked. But I just think overall as a group, we got to be more consistent. And the margin for error gets smaller and smaller when Terry's not out there.
And then when it comes for Jaden, he's also been in and out of the lineup, so I'm sure that's made it tricky for him to develop chemistry with those guys. What sort of extra work have you guys done to try to work on that?
Yeah, just pre-practice, post-practice, as many extra reps as we can get with those guys and not, kill them. We've been trying to get that in and build that rapport and build that timing and getting on the same page.
Interesting to hear Kliff Kingsbury bring up the need for more consistency from Commanders receivers. I'm guessing what he meant by that is fewer drops. Way too many drops by Commanders pass catchers this season. What's going to happen with the Commanders rushing offense on Sunday night? The team's rushing offense has been bad in each of the last 3 games. The Seahawks run defense is elite. The Seahawks for this regular season through week 8 were number 1 in the NFL in fewest yards allowed per carry, 3.29. We on Thursday afternoon had this back and forth between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Kliff Kingsbury.
Going back to the run game, you said for the first 5 weeks, I think you guys are the number 1 rushing team in the NFL. So when it's going well, what does it look like and what isn't happening over the last 2 weeks that maybe matches that production?
Yeah, I think, week in, week out, you're playing different defenses. Teams are trying to do different things to take you away. You have different players up or out of the game that impact that as well. So it's just having a great plan week in, week out, and then being able to find answers in game to make adjustments that can take advantage of certain things. So I think not getting behind helps. There's no doubt. And playing with a lead, that is when those rushing attempts really come through. But just being able to execute at a high level early on in the game to stay on schedule and just consistently do it. And
when you don't have Terry out there and Debo out there, how different are they playing you with the stacked boxes, with whatever it is, and how much does that contribute to? Yeah, that's kind of what I was referencing. You're going to get some different looks and different defenses when you don't have to account for caliber players like that. And we got some young guys that were receiver, like I said, that have stepped up and made plays, but that definitely provides some challenges when those guys aren't out there to really do what they do.
Yeah, there very much has been a domino effect with all of these injuries at receiver for the Commanders. With the Commanders' defense on Sunday night, a significant challenge in facing the Seahawks offense, which features maybe the best quarterback-receiver combo in the NFL so far this season in Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Sam Darnold for this regular season through Week 8 was number 4 among all qualified quarterbacks in the NFL in expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he for this regular season through Week 8 was number 1 in the NFL in receiving yards, 819, was tied for number 6 in the NFL in receptions, 50, and was number 8 among all qualified players in the NFL in yards per reception, 16.38. The Seahawks' number 2 receiver is Cooper Kupp. Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. did a pre-practice press conference late Thursday morning. This was Whitt on the Seahawks offense.
All right, talking about Seattle. Another talented quarterback, arm talent, can make every throw. He doesn't scramble as much as Patrick, so he's in the pocket. They run the ball. A lot of 12 personnel run the ball well. The receiver has having an outstanding year so far. I mean, he's faster than you think he is. He's elusive. He can get out of his hips. And then Cooper as well. Cooper blocks like a Hines Ward or Larry Fitzgerald or Anquan Bolden, those type of blockers, and then they're accomplished receivers as well, and so have a lot of respect for him. They have a pair of tight ends, a traditional Y and a U that moves, and the offensive line's blocking well. So running backs running hard. He can slash and dash and run behind his pads. Great vision. So, like I said, this is another very good team. But if we can produce the turnovers and minimize the penalties, minimize the explosives, we'll have a chance to play good.
One of the really interesting things about the Seahawks passing offense is how much of it is Jackson Smith-Njigba. He, for this regular season, has 819 receiving yards, with the team having 1,769 passing yards. So 46.3% of the Seahawks passing yards are via Jackson Smith-Njigba. We on Thursday morning had this exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Joe Whitt.
When you're facing a receiver who eats up as much as a target share as Jackson Smith-Njigba does and also moves around, how difficult does that make for you as a D coordinator to kind of concentrate coverage on a guy who that quarterback is looking to throw to?
Yeah, there's certain times that you know where he's going to be, and in those times you can shift the coverage those ways. But every down somebody's going to have a hard down, okay? And within that, you have to stand up on those hard downs. So we're going to do our due diligence with him, but every once in a while you're gonna have a hard down depending on the call, and so we try to minimize those because he's been so explosive and the ball has gone to him so much.
All right. We, in the Commanders' loss at the Chiefs, saw the implementation of change for the Commanders' defense. Among the changes was two guys who had barely played on defense playing a good bit. Linebacker Jordan McGee started and played on 84% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. Safety Tyler Owen started and played on 36% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. We, on Thursday morning, had this back and forth between John Keim and Joe Whitt.
Last week you talked a lot about increasing the speed on the defense. Did you see that, and how much of that was, if you did, how much of that was from tweaks that you guys made or inserting guys like Jordan and Tyler?
I think it was a little bit of both. Like I said, we minimized what we did, and then you saw T.O. and Jordan, the way they just ran and hit, and so and then you got to say Revo. Revo played really, really fast. I mean, he played physical, fast. He played a really good game, and so those guys popped off on the film.
With Jordan and Tyler, do you see a similar role for them moving forward, or is this how do you see them going forward?
Yeah, when you play well, you get more opportunities, and it's going to be hard to get Jordan off the field, so we have to make sure that we can find roles for him, same as T.O. T.O.'s a guy that has a lot of hit power to him and a lot of speed. I mean, there was a ball that got on the sideline, and you just saw those two kids just boom going to it right now, and that was good to see. So we'll find spaces for them to continue to get roles in the game.
There's not a person listening to this right now who truly trusts the Commanders' defense. I certainly don't. But what I'm hoping for is that we are maybe possibly seeing the defense get its act together to where it can at least be decent, at least be passable. Remember what happened on Monday night? The defense in the first half was really good. The problem was that the defense in the second half was really bad. We on Thursday morning had this exchange with Joe Whitt.
Coach, from the outside looking in, we hear a ton about how many hours that coaches devote to their team, all of the late nights and early mornings that you all give to the squad. When you look at a season like this thus far, and you got the ups and downs, you got the injuries, you've got the somewhat missed opportunities, what keeps you up the most at night with this year, and how do you fix it?
What keeps me up the most, this is the same thing every year. We work the same way. Let me put it this way. I've been on a team that won 19 straight games. All right. Then right now I've been on a team that I think lost maybe 6 or 7 games in a row. Work the same. All right. You just come to work and you work as hard as you can, and then you go home. If you put the work in, you really don't worry much about the result because the work is the work. You know what I'm saying? You don't change it because you win or lose. Like the walkthrough we just had was outstanding. The energy, the buzz, you wouldn't know that this team had lost 3 games in a row. I mean, the communication, the energy, the focus, the detail, it was one of the best walkthroughs that we've had. And we're part of a 3-game skid. The only way you get out of it is to work through your failures. That's where success is, on the other side of that. And so and the only thing that really matters is winning right now. And so we're going to find a way to win. But what we're not going to do is have a negative cloud while we're having some struggles. Everybody else can. Cool. Go at it. But we're not, because the only way that we'll get out of this is to stick together, all right, work our ass off, and go win. And if we lose, people keep saying what they're going to say, All right, but we just got to win. All right, and we got to. And the attitude of the players is exactly the way it should be.
And hopefully that translates to a win. If you enjoy this podcast, check out BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. BGO Blind Pig is great. It is a roundtable discussion of the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of your buddies who are Commanders fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. The latest episode has good conversation about the loss at the Chiefs and also this upcoming game against the Seahawks. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any major podcast provider. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Commanders podcast rotation.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized, so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Well, the Washington Commanders in this game against the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this Sunday night at 8:20 are facing one of the best teams in the NFL. If you go by Aaron Schatz's DVOA metric, defense adjusted value over average, the Seahawks for the 2025 regular season through Week 8 were number 6 in the NFL in total offense, number 3 in the NFL in total defense, and number 1 in the NFL in special teams efficiency. Quite the profile. I'm pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Seahawks insider Michael-Shawn Dugar of The Athletic. He also is the co-host of the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. You can follow Michael-Shawn on X at Mike Dugar, and Dugar is spelled D-U-G-A-R. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Nice to talk to you. The Seahawks in this regular season are 5-2, including 3-0 on the road, and have the third best point differential in the NFC, plus 57. Are you surprised at how well their season is going so far?
Yeah, I'm surprised by how efficient the passing offense has been without the assistance of their running game. You know, because when you get these Kyle Shanahan disciple offensive coordinators, which they have in Clint Kubiak, you see a lot of, okay, let's run the ball, get some manageable third downs, and that'll make our whole offense, more efficient. Defensive side, that's just kind of the plan, and it's just not going that way. Yeah, they're really bad on third down. They're mediocre to below average in running the ball. Yet Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best combination in football right now, and it's not even particularly close. If you look at Jackson's yardage totals, they use 800 plus yards in receiving, and no one's close to him. And he's already sat out a week too. So I'm surprised by that. Because I thought Sam had a good year with the Vikings, but I didn't expect this in 2025. And I knew Jackson was a good player. I knew he was wide receiver 1, even when he was playing with DK last year, but just didn't expect this. So that part is surprising because they're kind of winning and scoring points in spite of their run game. And the defense is one of the best in the league, and that's not surprising for anyone who's watched a Mike Macdonald coach defense, who has spoken to Mike Macdonald, who's spoken to a player who's been coached by Mike Macdonald. That dude is he's a genius. He's very smart. He puts his guys in position. So the fact that they have like a top 5 defense, top 10, depending on what metrics you love, that makes sense. The offense is out to, I would call it an unexpected start.
So the Seahawks QB1 Sam Darnold, taken by the New York Jets with the number 3 overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft out of USC. He last season had this surprisingly nice season with the Minnesota Vikings. The Seahawks this past March signed him as an unrestricted free agent to a reported 3-year, $100.5 million contract with $37.5 million fully guaranteed at signing, and he is killing it this season. Darnold, for this regular season through Week 8, was number 7 among all qualified NFL quarterbacks in ESPN's total QBR, 72.2. There are plenty of examples in NFL history of a quarterback who has one good season, gets paid, and then is never all that good again. Is Darnold, off having been a bust with the Jets, now legit?
Yeah, I think the Seahawks know a piece of that history working against them in 2012 when they signed Matt Flynn from the Green Bay Packers in free agency, gave him a big deal, and then drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round, and then Matt never played, never made a start for the Seahawks. For a minute there were people in Seattle who thought history may repeat itself when they paid Sam, drafted Jalen Milroe from Alabama in the 3rd round, and thought, oh, maybe let those guys duke it out. And then a rookie will prevail, once again. But the difference between those two situations is the quality of Sam Darnold's play. His film backs it up. The numbers back it up. He's been really efficient, been really decisive. Legit is I may hold off on that because I do think that how you become great, and I learned this from watching Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner for all those years, is consistency. Like a really good peak is great, but we've seen guys with good peaks that are, on first take right now because they couldn't sustain it, whereas you get guys like Bobby who's in year like 37 or something like that, or someone like Russ who was good for better part of a decade. The guys who greatness is about consistency to me. And so Sam didn't have that last year. He fell off pretty bad there towards the end of the year. And I want to see just how this will go in Seattle, just like I wanted to see last year in Minnesota. I kind of figured the clock would strike 12 there as well, and it did. So it's trending towards that perhaps not happening because the information that the Seahawks and Sam learned from the Minnesota fall off. So I'll kind of hold off on saying this is the future guy. But for now, he is playing as well as any quarterback in the league, and that's saying a lot given how he looked in his final 2 games in Minnesota.
What stands out to you about what Seahawks offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury is doing with their passing offense?
Yeah, they're making it so, so sometimes when you have like a really good guy, like a receiver, it's like, okay, we're cool with you guys taking him away because we have insert complementary options here. The Seahawks aren't really into that. They're like, we don't want you to take Jax away. We just want to beat you with Jax. That's our plan. We want to get the ball to number 11 and force you to have to work around that, as opposed to saying, okay, well, they're doubling Justin Jefferson, so now Jordan Addison has 200 yards today. They're doubling Jamar Chase, so now T. Higgins has 3 touchdowns today. We haven't had that game because that's kind of not how they operate. You double Jackson? Well, let's find a way to get him open despite the double. Let's throw him a screen. Let's run some dummy routes around him to stress your coverage, condensed formation, bunch, whatever. Let's put them in the backfield, which they've done this year a few times, including on Thursday Night Football in Week 4. So that's been really impressive because that was one of my fears with Jackson becoming the wide receiver 1 next to guys like 33-year-old and 32-year-old Cooper Kupp, rookie Torrey Horton, Derek Young, Jake Bobo, some of these other guys. Is what do you do when they take away Jax? How are you guys going to operate, in the passing game? And so far it's been, well, Mike, they're just not going to take him away, and that's easier said than done. We've seen that. That's through the test of time. Number 2 receivers having to step up, tight ends having to step up because a Jamar Chase is taken away, Amon-Ra St. Brown is taken away, and AJ Brown's taken away. Teams do that. They take a Terry McLaurin away. Someone else has to step up. No one's done that. The worst game Jax had was 4 catches for 79 yards on Thursday Night Football in Week 4, and that included like 2 of the best catches of the game, including the one that basically helped them win it. So that's been really impressive because that's not easy to do. We see coordinators struggle with that, even when they have receivers who are better than Jax, just finding ways to get him open, even when the defense dedicates all their resources to making sure he doesn't get the ball.
What is usually the case in the NFL is that the quarterback makes the receiver more than the receiver makes the quarterback, but there are exceptions. Might we have such an exception with the Seahawks, with Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who has been maybe the best receiver in the NFL so far this season?
Man, that's a good question. I think I would say Sam after Jax, or Jackson Sam, however you want to put it. But I think that the decision making by Sam is everything. Because you saw it even in that Texans game, Monday Night Football. When his decision making is not there, and this was kind of my fear when they signed Sam, was like, okay, when the bottom falls out for Sam, it gets really bad. Like Sam's 20 best throws are as good as anybody's throws 20 best in the league. I'm serious. Mahomes, Josh Allen, whatever. Take Sam's 20 best throws in the NFL. They're as good as it gets, like off platform. And he's got a cannon. That 97-yard touchdown he threw to Justin Jefferson last year against the Niners is probably one of the better balls of the last couple of seasons, right? And then take his 20 worst plays. And it's like, okay, seeing ghosts, these are bad turnovers, really bad fumbles. It just, that was my fear, being volatile, I guess is the best way to put that. So I think that his decision-making is just as important as Jackson's excellence because the Texans just showed that, right? Like Sam made a really bad decision and it led to a fumble in the end zone and 6 points for a team that couldn't score really on the Seahawks. They made that game closer than it needed to be. He made some bad decisions in the Steelers game. Where he had 2 turnovers in that game. And every quarterback throws picks, but it's the decisions. Like we just watched Patrick Mahomes throw a pick that bounced off Travis Kelce's hands, right? That wasn't a bad decision. Same thing with Mariota's pass to Debo the other night. Like every interception is not the same, but a lot of Sam's are, oof, why'd you do that, buddy? And you don't want that. You want to minimize those decisions. And so far, he's been good at protecting the ball, which is why Jax is the best guy. I'd say Sam is right there through 7 games because of his decision making.
We're talking with Seahawks insider Michael-Shawn Dugar of The Athletic as we preview Commanders Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. How's the Seahawks offensive line doing?
Yeah, I imagine that Geno Smith and Russell Wilson are watching this and being like, wow, why couldn't I get that, in pass protection? And these guys have been really good. It makes their third down numbers really funky. They're bottom 10. I think I don't have the updated numbers after the Monday night game, but they're like 33% or something. And yet they're protecting the quarterback. Typically, when you see teams that are that bad on third down, it's because their quarterback either stinks or he's under duress or some combination of the two. As we've discussed, Sam doesn't stink. Right? And his pass protection has actually been really solid, better than it ever was under Russ, better than it ever was for Geno. And that makes Sam's decision making even more important. Like, hey, you're getting time back there. I think he's only been sacked 9 times. And if I was to chart those, put my PFF hat on, I would really only assign 5 of those sacks to the offensive line. I give 1 to the running back and then 3 to Sam. So I think that the offensive line has been excellent. His tight ends have been excellent in pass protection. They've been really good working within the scheme, when it's quick game, when it's a long developing play action thing, because everything is not just drop back, block your guy, right? Sometimes it's, okay, you can set this way in pass pro because it's a 3-step drop balls out, right? So you can do that. You can, there's layers to pass protection. On the flip side, it's like one of the worst run blocking teams I've seen, in the league besides the Raiders. The Raiders are pretty bad. Seahawks are pretty bad. Just in terms of the blocking, not speaking to the numbers or anything right now, just watching them try to execute the plays and the blocks and get to the perimeter. It's really bad stuff. It looks disjointed. It looks lack of coordination. I think the best thing that they've done is in week 7 against the Texans, where they were able to run between the tackles with good efficiency there, hit some big runs, some first down runs. But even in that game, they had 4 first down runs, I think, total. This is a team that I believe is top 3 in running back carries. So this is a run-heavy offense that doesn't run it particularly well. I think a lot of that falls on the guys up front, tight ends, receivers, O-line, everybody. It's a very weird run-blocking unit right now. Just not very good, despite the fact that they run it as much as anybody.
The Seahawks defense, it is doing quite well. Which position group on the defense is best?
Yeah, Seattle's front is as good as it's ever been under general manager John Schneider, who got here in 2010. And the Super Bowl year, their front was so good that Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett two Ring of Honor guys were coming off the bench. Right? They had one of those units, very similar to what we saw from like Philly last year, where you're just coming in just waves of pass rushers. This one is not the same off the edge, but the interior defensive line trio of Byron Murphy II, Leonard Williams, and Jaron Reed is pretty stout. I mean, when these guys are on the field together, can't run the ball. Seattle has one of the best run defenses, in the league. Them and Cleveland, I think, are two of the, and the Rams are the three best. The Seahawks have only given up 2 rushing touchdowns all year. They're both to Rashad White in week 5. The yards per carry number, success rate, whether you like traditional stats or nerd stats, Seattle's run defense is about as good as you're going to see in the NFL right now. And it's because of those guys and the way they play off each other, the way they play double teams, the way they recognize when they can be aggressive and take a chance, shoot a gap. It's all really good. It looks like they've been playing together for a while. And in the case of Jay Reed and Leo, this is their 3rd year together, and with Byron, it's his 2nd year. So it's a really, there are other good units on the team, but that one is where it starts. They've been really, really good. They're going to be really, really tough for the Commanders to run on Sunday night.
Yeah, and the Commanders' rushing offense has not been doing well lately. Is there a vulnerability with the Seahawks defense? Like, if you're Commanders' offensive coordinator, Kliff Kingsbury, is there something, or are there multiple somethings that can be exploited with the Seahawks defense?
Yeah, I would say 2 things. One is move Terry around. I think that I watched Kliff a lot in Arizona, obviously. And one of the critiques was that, like, he just didn't move his star around. He just had D-Hop on the left side of the offense, and that was it. And it just made them really easy to stop, And I saw Terry mention that, I think, when he caught the game winner against the Bengals last year. It was like, I just called my own shot, moved to the other side of the formation, and we go win. And I was like, man, Kliff's still doing that, huh? And it's just so weird. Even Terry's route chart the other night was a lot of routes from the left. So he's got to stop that, because the Seahawks have cornerbacks who, if you just line up your best guy outside the numbers, they can just press him and run with him. Terry will make some contested catches. I think he and George Pickens are the 2 best at that in the league. But as Commanders fans, you just can't live off Terry toe taps. You need some more sustainable versions of moving the ball. So I think if you move Terry around, that'll be useful. Kind of treat him like you would Debo, but just a better version. And I think the other thing is, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but last time I checked, the Seahawks were pretty high in tight end receptions allowed, and running back receptions allowed. But I think in the Commanders' case, you're probably better off feeding Zach and trying to take advantage of those matchups there. He's more of a matchup problem, I would say, than like just checking it down to Jeremy McNichols or something. And I got Bill on my fantasy team too, and I'm saying that. So I think that if there's anything, if I'm Kliff, I'm like, let's move 17 around. And try to get Ertz the ball as much as possible, kind of exploit the middle. There's no guarantee that'll work, but I think that's your best bet if I'm the Commanders.
The Seahawks on January 31st, 2024 hired Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as head coach. He was a head coaching candidate for the Commanders in that 2024 offseason, in which they hired Dan Quinn as head coach in February 2024. Macdonald was talked about as being a Sean McVay of defense. How are things going for Macdonald as Seahawks head coach?
Yeah, I think he's lived up to all the defensive stuff, but I mean, as plenty of coaches who are now analysts and unemployed will tell you, that's only part of the job, right? You're not locked in your office dialing up blitzes or play action schemes, right? You got to lead men. You got to problem solve. You got to manage egos. And that's a whole different bottle of wax now in the days of social media. Like, your cornerback gives a couple big plays. You're not only dealing with how he's going to deal with that, but now you got to make sure he stays off his phone. And then you got to make sure that if he is on his phone, all his people from his hometown aren't sending him, TikTok reels of him blowing coverages, right? And how the mental state will be. Same thing for your quarterback, your lineman, you're just managing all that. And I think that Mike has taken a good approach to being the CEO of the whole thing, which is important. I think that the best coaches are that, whether you're a Sirianni or a Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, like, you run the whole thing. You don't just dial up third down stuff and game plan, So I think, Mike, it took a little bit to get used to that, because you don't have time. You have to do everything I just said within, so many hours in a day. And that's tough. You got to know, okay, when can I allocate my time today to working with our kicker, who's missed a couple easy ones, this week. And if I do that, am I sacrificing some time game planning our D-line stunts for the week? Like, where do I delegate? How do I handle that? What do I say to the media when my guy who I know is good is struggling right now? Do I slam him because I'm frustrated? Do I big him up? So that knowing that his mom is probably watching the press conference, these are all like coaching things you got to really handle. And DQ knows this too. He handled some stuff really well in Atlanta and really poorly and learned from it, and which is why he's probably doing a much better job there. So I think Mike is year two has been a lot better for him in that regard. He kind of knows like you got to expect the unexpected. Even if you know that, it's still just hard to deal with all that comes with that, the random media reports, the beefs inside the locker room. Shoot, his center just retired at the bye week last year. Imagine that. It's like, what do you mean my center just quit football? We got a game next week. What do you do? So I think it's a lot to handle, but he's getting better at it and realizing, and not realizing, but I think what really helps him is that he's one of those guys who principles are set in stone, but methods are adjustable, right? So there's some things that are non-negotiable, right? Being on time, respect, integrity, honesty, communication, all that good stuff. It's like a relationship coach, but he'll adjust. Like, okay, maybe we should not wear pads today, or maybe we should cut this team meeting, or add a team meeting, or add a third red zone period on Fridays, whatever. Just adjust to whatever you need to do. I think that's really, really important for all coaches, whether you're 37 or 73. It's just being willing to adjust to whatever your team needs, because it'll change, on a week-to-week basis.
Great insight. Seahawks insider Michael-Shawn Dugar of The Athletic. Mike, thank you. All the best.
I appreciate you having me.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
The Washington Commanders franchise is 13-10 all-time in regular season and postseason games against the Seattle Seahawks franchise. 3 of the losses have been playoff losses over the last 20 years. January 14th, 2006, a 2010 Redskins loss at the Seahawks in the divisional round. January 5th, 2008, a 35-14 Skins loss at the Seahawks in the wild card round. And January 6, 2013, a 24-14 Skins loss to the Seahawks at FedEx Field in the wild card round, what is known as the Seattle game. That is what you call that game, the Seattle game. That was the game in which Skins quarterback Robert Griffin III suffered a torn right ACL and torn right LCL, and the circumstances surrounding him getting injured in that game were dissected and debated for years, and the ramifications of that game were lasting, and we're not going to revisit everything right now, but if you know, you know. The Seattle game. Commanders versus the Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this Sunday night at 8:20. 2 teams going in opposite directions. The Commanders have lost 3 consecutive games, 4 of the team's last 5 games, and 5 of the team's last 7 games. So just 3-5 in the NFL's 2025 regular season, and are coming off a short week off a 28-7 loss at the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football this past Monday night. The Seahawks, they have won 2 consecutive games, are 5-2 in this regular season, and are coming off a bye. My friends, it is that time, the time to rhyme. It is time for Rhyming Keys, my keys to a Commanders win in rhyming fashion. Understand, these rhymes, they are not meant to be good, and they are not good. They are quite bad, in fact. The rhymes are only meant to make a few points, and in fact, I have a saying for this segment, indeed a rhyme for this segment. The saying is counterintuitive, but trust me, the saying is true. The worse the rhyme, the better the time. And so let's have a good time. Here we go. Hardcore analysis combined with scheduled fun. Rhyming keys for Commanders Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. How do the Commanders win this game? We now rhyme the ways. Rhyming key number 1. This for Commanders offensive linemen, tight ends, and receivers. Do good jobs with your blocks in this game against the Hawks. The Commanders' rushing offense has been bad in each of the 3 games of this 3-game losing streak. Specific to the loss at the Chiefs, I thought it was interesting what head coach Dan Quinn said during his pre-practice press conference on Wednesday afternoon. He revealed that the Commanders' run blocking in the game was poor. Take a listen to this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
Going back to the run game, too, after looking over the last couple of days, do you see an issue? If so, what is it?
Yeah, we're going to dig in hard. We already have. We didn't love the targeting in the game for us. That's a fancy term for who has who. And that's a common thing, defense that's got multiple fronts and different looks, but we've got to be able to nail those down and make it really clean, John, and really fast for us to go hit those targets. When we do that, we like how that looks and the results of it. And we'll need that this week. This is a team with an excellent defensive line. Big guys, speed edges, the whole thing. So we'll have to really nail the target and make sure it's at the right spot, right locations. And if we do that part right, our success in the run game usually follows that. But it'll be really important in that space.
Yeah, the Commanders' targeting on Sunday night needs to be on point because the Seahawks' run defense is elite. Just 24.8% of the yardage gained against the Seahawks in this regular season has been rushing yardage, lowest such rate in the NFL in this regular season through Week 8. And so rhyming key number 1, this for Commanders' offensive linemen, tight ends, and receivers. Do a good job with your blocks in this game against the Hawks. Rhyming key for Commanders Seahawks number 2. This is for Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels. Be a touchdown maker like our pal Baker. We expect Jayden Daniels to be the Commanders starting quarterback on Sunday night in a return from a 1-game absence caused by a right hamstring injury. As we have discussed on the podcast this week, it may well be that Daniels getting white hot and carrying the Commanders is the only realistic way for them to make the playoffs this season. It may well be that he needs to put on the Superman cape and save this Commanders season himself. Jayden Daniels in his second NFL season has been good, but he has not been great. He hasn't played at the high level at which he played during his all-time great rookie season last season. The Seahawks QB1, Sam Darnold, he has played at a high level this season. It is frightening to think what might happen with the Seahawks passing offense against the Commanders' pass defense. But actually wouldn't be stunned if this game was a shootout, because while the Seahawks' run defense has been outstanding, their pass defense has given some stuff up, most notably in a 38-35 home loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on October 5th, and one of the best games of this NFL season so far. Bucs quarterback Baker Mayfield went off in that game, 29 for 33 for 379 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He took just 1 sack. He had 5 carries for 15 yards. Baker this season has put on the Superman cape for the Bucs. He's having a really good season, despite, by the way, the Bucs having been hit hard by injury. Will Jayden Daniels do against the Seahawks on Sunday night, as Baker did against the Seahawks earlier this month? Rhyming key number 2, this for Jayden Daniels. Be a touchdown maker like our pal Baker. And rhyming key for Commanders Seahawks number 3. This is for the Commanders defense. Your improvement must not be a sham in facing the Seahawks Sam. Hey, I told you, these rhymes are not good, okay? As we have discussed on the podcast this week, the Commanders' defense in the loss at the Chiefs was better. Not good, but better. We did see improvement. That improvement needs to carry over to Sunday night and needs to be heightened on Sunday night. And a major test of the improvement will be how the defense does at preventing the big play. The Seahawks offense thrives on the big play, especially the big passing play. The Seahawks for this regular season through Week 8 were number 1 in the NFL in rate of passing plays that have gained at least 10 yards, 37.6%. Understand the league average is 25.7%. Sam Darnold, he for this regular season through Week 8 was number 1 among all qualified quarterbacks in the NFL in yards per pass attempt, 9.14, and was number 1 among all qualified quarterbacks in the NFL in yards per completion, 13.39. Big time challenge for the Commanders defense on Sunday night and trying to limit the big passing plays by the Seahawks. How the Commanders do in this department may well decide the game. Rhyming key number 3, this for the Commanders defense: your improvement must not be a sham in facing the Seahawks Sam. All right, it is prediction time. The consensus line per Action Network for this game as of Thursday afternoon was Commanders +3. As you may have noticed, the trend with rhyming keys is that they result in me taking the Commanders, at least in terms of the spread. The rhyming keys talk me into taking our team, and this is happening again. Give me the Commanders +3. A phenomenon in sports is the more desperate team winning. The Commanders right now are infinitely more desperate than the Seahawks, and hopefully the Commanders play this way. Final score, Commanders 27, Seahawks 24. Kicker Matthew Gay, a 42-yard field goal as time expires in the fourth quarter to win the game. All right, time now to talk college football. Time now for Goldilocks. My picks for the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region: Maryland, Navy, Virginia Tech, Virginia, James Madison, Old Dominion, and Liberty. You surely have heard of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Well, this is Goldilocks, which helps you, as the great Snoop Dogg once said, make money, money.
Make money, money, make money, money, money.
That's right, Snoop. Make money, money. We have arrived at Week 10 of the 2025 college football season. Goldilocks already 1-0 in this Week 10. We'll do Goldilocks in rapid-fire fashion, and then I want to talk about Maryland's game against Indiana. The betting lines that I'm using are consensus lines per Action Network as of Thursday morning. We, on this installment of Goldilocks, have 6 games to pick. No game for James Madison this weekend. The Dukes just played this past Tuesday night. Won again. Won their 6th consecutive game, improved to 7-1 overall, including 5-0 in the Sun Belt Conference, a 52-20 win at Texas State on Tuesday night. Next up for James Madison at Marshall on Saturday, November 8th at noon. So here we go. Maryland has its homecoming game, home to number 2 Indiana, Saturday afternoon at 3:30. The Terrapins +21.5. Give me Maryland. Navy at North Texas, Saturday at noon. The Midshipmen +6.5. Give me Navy. Number 15, Virginia at Cal, Saturday afternoon at 3:45. The Cavaliers -4.5. Give me Virginia. Virginia Tech, home to Louisville, Saturday afternoon at 3. The Hokies +10.5. Give me Louisville. Old Dominion at ULM, Saturday afternoon at 3:30. The Monarchs -17.5. Give me ULM. And Liberty, home to Delaware, Saturday afternoon at 3:30. The Flames -3.5. Give me Liberty. So how about Maryland having as its homecoming opponent Indiana, which is the number 2 team in the FBS per the Associated Press Top 25 poll that came out this past Sunday afternoon. Traditionally, a team has as its homecoming opponent a, shall we say, lesser opponent, a cupcake opponent, right? But the way things have worked out is that the Terps are getting the number 2 team in the FBS. The Terps are coming off a bye, but they're also coming off a 2017 loss at UCLA on October 18th. The Terps have a 3-game losing streak, during which they have been outscored in the fourth quarters of those games 44-7. And a loss to IU on Saturday would drop the Terps to 4-4 overall, including 1-4 in the Big Ten. They would have gone from 4-0 to 0-4, and yet another instance of the Terps with Mike Locksley as head coach, starting off a season in impressive fashion and then falling apart. IU is loaded. Its head coach is Curt Cignetti, who in November 2023 left his job as James Madison head coach to become IU's head coach. IU's QB1 is Fernando Mendoza, who is a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. And guess who is IU's RB1? Former Maryland running back Roman Hemby. He transferred to IU this past December. Mike Locksley did a press conference this past Tuesday. We, during that presser, had this exchange between Gene Wong of the Washington Post and Locksley, and then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges between Michael Howes of the Diamondback and Locksley.
How much kind of stock do you put in like a shock the world mentality? Is that even necessary given the quality of the opponent?
No, we as we said earlier, and this is no disrespect to Indiana, but our opponent, much like what they do, is the biggest opponent we're going to face is ourselves. And I think when you look at the way the last 3 games have gone, it's been a lot more us than it has been the opponent. And those are the things that, that's why I feel pretty good about going into it, because these are things that can be corrected, that we need to get corrected, and we'll get it corrected this week.
Hey, Coach. After the UCLA game, you mentioned finding the what the team needs to do to improve. During the bye, what did you find that you need to do better as a coach in this final stretch?
Well, one is the chess match of the health. I mean, our biggest concern going into the season has been depth, and if you look at where our issues they typically lie in our lack of depth and when we need it most, because, when you lose 6 starters in that last drive against UCLA and replace them with freshmen, a lot of the meat of guys that have played plays around here aren't in our program, and it is what it is, so not complaining, but what I have to do as a head coach is find a way to make sure that those guys are available to finish games and are as strong as we possibly can. So for me, it's adjusting practice. It's what are the things we're not good at right now? Right now, red zone offense and third down defense. So how do I put practice plans together that allow a young team to rehearse these situations? As much as I would love to see us pop these freshmen in the microwave and pop up redshirt seniors and redshirt juniors, it just doesn't happen that way. And so what we've got to do, and what I have to do, is make sure I put the best practice plans I can to expedite the growth, to expedite the learning curve for the young players that have been thrust into roles and have done a really good job at it.
And then with 5 games left in this season, what would you want to see in this final stretch to call the season as a whole a success?
You know what? I'm going one at a time, Michael. I'm not going down the road of prognosticating what makes it successful. I'm one game at a time.
Well, there is something else with this game for Maryland against Indiana to be mindful of. 0-36. The Terps are 0-36 against ranked Big Ten teams since joining the conference beginning with the 2014 season. Maryland, with Mike Locksley as head coach, is 0-17 in games against ranked Big Ten teams, and that does not include him going 0-2 against ranked Big Ten teams as Terps interim head coach in 2015. Maryland is a massive underdog for this game against IU. The Terps losing this game, of course, would surprise no one, but that the Maryland football program never beats ranked Big Ten teams is brutal. It is one of the most humiliating stats in Washington, D.C. area sports. 0-36 against ranked Big Ten teams since joining the conference beginning with the 2014 season. Well, the NBA has increasingly become a positionless league. That said, if there is a specific position that most matters, it is point guard. Our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards, they lack a true point guard. Their opponent on Thursday night does not. And that showed in what happened in a 127-108 loss for our Wizards at the reigning, defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder on Thursday night. The Wizards in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season fell to 1-4. The Thunder in this regular season improved to 6-0. The Wizards did not hold a lead over the second, third, and fourth quarters. The story of the game, turnovers. The Wizards committed 23 turnovers to the Thunder 6 and got outscored in terms of points off turnovers 26-5. Just a jaw-dropping disparity. And the Thunder have a superstar point guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. He, in 29 minutes, 2 seconds as a starter, went 3 for 6 on threes, 8 for 14 on twos, and 6 for 6 on free throws. He finished with 31 points, 7 assists versus no turnovers, and 3 rebounds. Quite good. The Wizards went just 21 for 44 on twos, allowed the Thunder to go 28 for 49 on twos, and getting outscored in the paint 50-36. The Wizards did win the three-point battle. They went 17 for 40 on threes, held the Thunder to just 16 for 49 on threes. And the Wizards did have Bilal Coulibaly. He played off having missed the Wizards' first 4 games of this regular season due to having undergone a surgical procedure to repair a ligament tear in his right thumb on September 12th. The injury was sustained during FIBA Eurobasket play with the French national team. Coulibaly on Thursday night did well. 24 minutes, 24 seconds as a starter. He went just 2 for 7 on threes, but also 4 for 5 on twos and 2 for 2 on free throws. He finished with 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. He did commit 4 turnovers. So some other standouts for the Wizards. Keyshawn George, he in 30-31 as a starter, went 3 for 5 on threes and 1 for 1 on free throws. He finished with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. Did go just 1 for 3 on twos and did commit 5 turnovers. Alex Sarr, 26-01 as a starter, 2 for 3 on twos, 2 for 2 on free throws. He finished with 14 points, 8 rebounds, including 3 offensive boards, 2 blocks, and 2 assists. He did go just 3 for 8 on twos and did commit 3 turnovers. Next up for the Wizards is a game this weekend, home to the Orlando Magic, Saturday night at 7. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1190. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders, in-depth reaction to and analysis of their game against the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this Sunday night at 8:20. Also on Monday's show, I'll discuss the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, and college football. The Caps have 2 games this weekend, home to the New York Islanders Friday night at 7 and at the Buffalo Sabres Saturday night at 7. The Wizards have 1 game this weekend, home to the Orlando Magic Saturday night at 7. And we on Saturday have games for 6 of the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
We're going to find a way to win, but what we're not going to do is have a negative cloud while we're having some struggles. Everybody else can. Cool. Go at it. But we're not, because the only way that we'll get out of this is to stick together, all right, work our ass off, and go win.
What is up, Pacer Nation? I'm Alex Golden.
And I'm Mike Facci, and we are the hosts of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace.
That's right, Facci. Tune in for your daily dose of Pacers basketball Monday through Friday, breaking down every game, transaction, and news around the Eastern Conference champs.
From the late-game heroics to Carlisle's chess moves, we're bringing the energy, the insight, and that pep in the step that you won't find anywhere else.
So hit that subscribe button and join the conversation.
Let's go, Pacers!